What's up, everyone? Bo here with Beauviarts. If you're interested in following me on Instagram or Twitter or wherever. Instagram, you can see kind of my whole gallery. So just look up Beauviarts. That name is everywhere on my YouTube. Anyhow, today we're going to talk about the anatomy of a painting. Not anatomy as in, shoulders, arms, ears, eyes, all that stuff. But we're talking about anatomy behind painting, the conception and birth of a painting all the way to the end product. And kind of what brought this on is I'm a part of a lot of critique groups. I kind of like to put myself through the ringer, so to speak, and make sure that, if there's anything glaringly wrong with my paintings, that it's pointed out to me. And I think I'm using this one because it's probably, personally, some of my best work. It's one of the most fun. I think it came together really smoothly. That's always something that I look for, is how well it's coming together, how much hell you're having, with the layers and painting or values or colors. So, I posted this on a critique group, and people were just like, how did you progress so quickly? Because I'd done this drawing of Adam Jensen like 2 years ago, and people were like, what did you do? And not that this is like incredibly amazing or anything. I definitely see a lot of issues that, that I skipped by, but I kind of want to talk about that too. Anyhow, so we're not going to be doing a lot of painting on this. We're going to be talking about how you go from grayscale or from a blank canvas rather to the finished product. So I want to talk about this scientific method. A lot of people will paint something and say, why do my colors look so muddy whenever I'm going from grayscale to color? How are you coloring? And then you have the opposite problem of, okay, I've colored everything, but it looks really flat. And so we're going to talk about that. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get you a good reference. Now, this is the most important thing you're going to do. Because it's going to help you draw something, right? A lot of people, they'll be like, I'd try to do this from imagination, and then, they draw this thing, and it's like one big eye and then one small eye, and the nose is all weird and everything. And, it's good to test your limits on imagination and to build your visual library, but, the masters of our time and of generations before us always use references, whether it's a live model, whether it's a picture. Now, the one thing I want to tell you about is avoiding to grab somebody else's artwork, unless it's for like pose or something like that, because the last thing you want to do is take somebody's art piece and then copy that and then put it up as your own. It's good to do it for a study, like John Singer Sargent, but I've seen it lately to where people are just grabbing, like mine or your artwork, and they're copying it stroke for stroke, and then they're putting it out there as part of their portfolio. So that's a no-no. So the first thing I do when I'm looking for reference is to look for something that nobody's drawn. If it's something that I kind of want to see how my interpretation of it is. So this is something that's rendered, part of the game, CGI or something like that. So let me grab a swig of water here. And that's the first thing I look for. And the second thing I look for in a reference is the lighting. I want dramatic lighting. And this is for a couple of reasons. If you pick a reference that has really poor lighting, let's say that this was the, right here on his forehead, was the lighting situation all throughout his face, then you're going to have a really tough time matching those values, right? Because what I'm about to do will show you the first step on everything here. And this isn't the proper way of doing things. It's not a bad way. This is definitely something that just steps that I've learned, and I've been working with Zia lately and talking to all these amazing artists. So I get my reference right. I make sure it has good lighting, that it's a legit reference, that I'm not going to just be stealing somebody else's work, right, and then posting it as my own. And then I flip it to grayscale, black and white. And the reason I do this is because the first thing that I do on my painting is grayscale. So what you're going to want to do is you want to get your background on your canvas to match this kind of lighting scenario. So what I did is I just kind of went for a mid-tone gray here, and I painted the whole canvas. Don't worry about all this other stuff going around, right? You just want there to be a contrast between the item you're painting and the background, because you don't want it to all blend in. Then it's going to be a tough time. I've done that before, and it gets really tough later on in the stages trying to tie everything in. So the first thing I do, and I know this is a big jump. I mean, we're basically going from nothing to this, but I talked about this on my live stream. The first thing I do is get a nice gray here. I say, okay, this looks about right. And you can even color pick if you want to, if you're just starting out, and then check your work. But this is the first step, right? I go from just a blank canvas to this. And I go around 90% to 100% opacity lately. And again, you can look at my live stream. I gave a good demonstration of this. And I start painting his head, kind of the focal point. And I just paint the silhouette of everything that I see. And I don't do it perfectly. Here's like his chest. Here's that. And then, later on I take my eraser at 100%. Or you can do it at 90%, something that's relatively high. And I start cutting away, And the reason I do this is because on an art piece, like so, the silhouette is going to be the most identifiable thing about your piece. It's not going to be his gun. It's not going to be this shiny thing on his shoulder, Excuse me. It's going to be his silhouette. It's going to be what's identifiable. Your brain has the tendency to find human faces out of like simple shapes. Like if you look at your carpet or like grains of wood, have you ever like, oh my God, I see a scary face in that? It's because you're human. It's your human nature, and your brain is wired to just find things that are easily recognizable. So they'll look for eyes, ears, and stuff. So same thing happens when you look at a painting. The first thing you notice is the sharpness of everything, and okay, I see a human right away, and then your eyes start pulling together all the features. It's kind of weird to talk about, but very scientific. You should look it up. So I do the silhouette first, and then I start building values. And then that's when I come in with a brush, and I'm really just, my strokes are, first I get the shade of gray. If I'm going darker, obviously, you want to, is this going to work? Well, no, I'm going to have to come down here. And the values are very important as well. So the number one problem I see when people are doing values is they'll go all the way white, and they'll start painting highlights with that, blam. No. So I've said it a million times. I'm going to say it again today, okay, right? You have white and you have black. I don't know why I had to paint this to demonstrate, but white is reserved for the hottest light source available. It is going to be very rare that you see an exact white on anything reflective. And that's just how it works. Skin is not going to have white on it because skin is not... It's somewhat reflective. It depends on the situation. Like a bald head, there can be a pretty bright light on a bald head, right? But on like your face, like right here, you see the rim light here, or the sunglasses even, that's not going to be white. Those are somewhat reflective. Like the hairs on the edge of your face, like peach fuzz might give you this, or just rim light might help sell the figure. Sunglasses are, plastic, and those are highly reflective, but it's not going to bounce white away from it. The opposite can be said about black. Black is an area that light can never reach. You see like areas in here, still not quite black. If we test it, see? It's still not quite black. It's close, but no cigar. So that's the first thing I see go wrong when people start trying to do values, is they get this impression for some reason. I've really got to, I guess, redo my drivers for Wacom. They get this impression that you need to go all the way black or all the way white, and that's just not the case. Now, that being said, you can still like select black and then change your opacity to 40% or do pin pressure if you want, but it doesn't really make any sense to do that. You might as well just pick something between like 15 to 85% or 20 and 80% and go from there. Secondly, I will see people not really select a good range of value. A lot of people will just work from here to here, and they'll say, what's wrong with my painting? Now, just watching this box right here change colors, it's changing, but it's not that much, right? It's not a good range. What really makes a 2D object look three-dimensional is when you have a wider range of values. There we go. When we mix all these together and they're all playing against each other, like this, then you're having more success on making your 2D silhouette that we drew before pop out, right? So the same thing with his shoulder. I really don't know what material his arms are made of. I know they're cybernetic, prosthetics, but with that, let's check our range of value here. So we have probably a good 80%, right? 85%. And then for the white, we have like a good 30% for that highlight. But with the information put together, it looks like a very shiny spherical object for a shoulder. That's the first impression we get. So draw your silhouettes and work with the wide range of value. It's really simple. The value stage is going to be your second most important stage behind your silhouette. And the reason being is because if your value game is not strong, then your color game will not be strong. It's going to be a weak color game. You're going to have a really tough time. And a lot of people will become impatient with their values. Okay, I'm just going to go to color. And they'll think that they can get to this point, the color layer, and fix everything. And that old issue of I don't know which layer I painted this on, that's why that's probably happening, is because you're jumping too far ahead of your work and you're becoming confused. You're confusing yourself on where you're at. So really the color will be one of the easiest things you can do. If your value game is on point, then your color game is going to be pretty easily tied together. And then, of course, at that point, you can also switch your reference here and then start painting similar colors. Now, one thing is you can't color pick, right? You can kind of check your colors, but you can't color pick because it's not going to have the same effect when you go to paint the value. See, if we color picked his cheek over there and then try to paint, that's the result you would have. So what I do on color is I do a dark skin tone first. And you're really going to have to play around with it. I can't just hold your hand through everything. I can just point you in the right direction. You start with a dark skin tone, and then you start hitting those highlights. And you just remember, if light's coming through your ear, then you're going to have some what's called subsurface scattering. And that's when you can see the red blood through thin areas of your skin. You get that sometimes on your cheeks and your nose, but in this situation, light's not doing that to him. So there's some good understanding when you're doing this too. And by the way, when we're doing this, I'm staying zoomed out. And I'm sure you've watched me with Zia Taptara. Just stay zoomed out because we're not focused about all the details yet. You're just getting those basic shapes. You can come in about right here. That's what I usually paint in. But another reason is because my style, I like it a little painterly. When you zoom in, you can see some good messy brushstrokes. I really like that. So kind of adapt your own style, but that's what I prefer. Just go to another channel if you want something else. I guess that kind of sounds rude. After I've done that, at some point do the background. It's probably easier to do the background first. But here lately, I've just been working on my character so much that the background's kind of a final afterthought. So what I do is I just pop a new layer between everything, between the background and your character. And I drew these shapes somewhat, kind of like with values. And I just applied a filter, a Gaussian blur. And I just adjusted that until it looked similar. Okay, and then pop in an overlay. And, imitate the colors you can to the best of your ability. There's some shadows and stuff here that are wrong. And, but I mean, who's going to sit there and be, cross-eyed at the blur trying to figure out what these objects are? Obviously, it's like a subway station. Or, who cares? The focus is this guy right here. So this doesn't have to all make sense, right? I just took some really really heavy symbols here, like these two lines. Maybe they're railing or the top of a train or something, and this light down here in this arch. And I kind of used that to my advantage to really just tie things in together. And I didn't really focus about the stuff that's going on over here, right? I just wanted things to hit this area. So that's kind of the next step. And then the last thing is really your touch-ups, your like particle dust, and your last-minute highlights. So there's a couple things that I wanted to do here. Like I just kind of gave this like blue highlight off his head, and I did some particle effects that you can see if we zoom in here. Some like dots and dust, and there's a couple of flurries on this picture, but I wanted to really just kind of have a fun time with the textured brush. You kind of get in that mood where you don't want to overdo it, but you want to have some fun. And the last thing I did, and this is easy, multiply. Now, if you want to make an area darker, hit some multiply. And it's a very subtle change, but it's a good way to tie in everything, you know, and give some last minute shadows. And really, if you follow those steps and you practice the order of those operations over and over, you're going to get to a point where you're painting better than this. I mean, this is not, like I said, this is nothing to be really proud of, but I do realize how far I've come in a very short amount of time. We're talking about 2 or 3 months. I started painting characters and taking them seriously probably in September, I think. You can look at my channel and just look at the progress. And watch Zia Taptara every day, live stream with him every day, because that guy, listening to him has the combination of that and working hard every day, because I do this every day for hours, has brought me to this result, and I'm only going to excel from here. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that helps you put together a painting easier. Remember those steps. Do not skip ahead. You don't want to skip ahead and do colors before you do value. You know, the value is probably the most important thing here. You know, that's why I do a lot of portraits that are just, they don't have any color at all. It'll just be the value of things. So remember that. And if you have any questions, shoot me in the comment box. Shoot me. Just kill me dead. Another thing I want to talk about real quick is I have a website here. And this is something kind of, it's called Society 6. You can look up Beauviarts. And I'm starting to sell these pieces as like wall frames and stuff. But I'm also, I've been doing this for a while, but here recently I've kind of started uploading again some of my newer works. So you can get like paintings for like $13 and everything like that. And I don't really want to focus on that too much, but I'm going to start taking like requests for different kind of shirts and stuff. I kind of want to get into printing and just get a side revenue stream here. So if you have any requests or commissions or anything, give me a holler and I can paint something up for you. We can talk about it. So that's another place you can visit me if you want to. Not really a huge deal. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know. And I sincerely hope that this was helpful to you. Until next time, we'll see you.